being right in the country, we could get a Christmas tree from the woods, and also there were always things like rabbits and pheasants. So, we could have quite a good Christmas, even in wartime. The first Christmas in the war, we were all at home. I don't know if we always got a turkey. Probably we did, or part of a turkey.
On Christmas Day, you had meat, you had potatoes, you had a lovely dinner, Brussels sprouts maybe, and gravy, and you had a nice pudding. Christmas time, you had Christmas pudding, what people had made with all their fruit that they had collected.
We did move into the big saloon for Christmas, always after the war too. So it was always quite a performance. I think most people did have a turkey because, this was very much sort of a rural community.
I'll tell you what it wasn't. It wasn't turkey. It wasn't turkey. It wasn't Christmas pudding. No Christmas cards. No, it was very little sort of thing.
Christmas was lovely. Families were families then, You lived next door to your auntie, you lived next door to somebody else, all local. So Christmas time, everybody used to give their ration to one person that they were going to have their Christmas dinner with. And then they'd all club in together. It was very, very kind of, in them days, everybody helped one another.
We did celebrate it, but of course presents were more limited.
You might buy 3 handkerchiefs for somebody, things like that, you see, what you couldn't get, maybe they found, because you always had a black market shop. They always said, you don't need no coupons for this and that. So we used to do all right.
As far as presents are concerned, I'm not really sure the sort of presents you would have given children, but definitely it was restrictive when the war was on because you couldn't sort of buy things unless you found somebody who was selling things second hand. I know my brother had 1 or 2 things made of wood. He was sort of 2, 3, 4, 5 years old during the war, but I can remember being given this little bedside lamp, which I've still got. It's got a different shade on it now, of course. After all those years it would, but it still works.
I'm sure we did manage Christmas presents, and we certainly kept it up properly with a crib and Christmas trees and
yeah, at Christmas we used to all have parties, moving the piano along from one house to the other. But we all had children, and we all had a good time.
Well, my mother, we always had a children's party just before Christmas, and all the Woodstock children came out. Yes, and I think she got hold of some oranges and tangerines, which were, and everybody had an orange and tangerine for Christmas, which was, a lot of the children from London hadn't seen an orange, and certainly not a tangerine. So that was a great excitement.
Of course, in the forces you did get a petrol ration, which was better than the civilian one. So if the local RAF bases and ships and so on gave parties, we could go to them. The RAF gave the best parties because I think they used to fly over to Dublin and stock up with things you couldn't get at home, but it must have been very unofficial if they did. But they certainly did give good parties.
I must have listened to the King broadcasting at that first Christmas, and there was a set thing for Christmas Day. As we still do now, we always listened to the broadcast at 3 o'clock. So my earliest memories of Christmas afternoon would be, well, we had our relatives in Trowbridge. They would probably be with us. There might be perhaps 12, 13, 14 people in the house. We'd have our Sunday dinner, and the washing up would be being done in the little scullery, and then everybody would have finished, and we would all sit down and listen to the King. And I say that goes on in our family even now. This is still the same tradition in a way. Only it's a Queen on television.
My dance teacher said, we're going to do pantomime now. I done a little Bo Peep, and we had real sheep on the stage, or an uplift to people to come and see that show. So happy. Used to have rates while you were performing. People used to carry on, still sit in the audience and watch you. And it was only, I mean, if it was going to bomb the place, like where we were performing, well, that was just really hard luck in a way, you know. We just took chances.
Obviously, you went on going on duty just the same, whether it was Christmas or not. We were listening right round the 24 hours. German ships might still be coming out, and then they would start to speak and give their call sign and who they were calling up and so on. And then you started writing it all down. Many of the messages were in code, and they obviously would think we couldn't decode it, and of course Bletchley did. So I don't think I had all my wartime Christmases at home. I think I must have been on duty for some of them.
I was in France at Christmas. I was one of the lucky ones who drew Christmas out of the hat. We all got leave, but Christmas was rather special, you see. So a brother officer and I went on leave together. And I said, what are we going to do? I said, well, have you ever been to a nightclub, Hamilton? I said, yes, I went to the Coconut Grove the night before we embarked for France. I was quite keen on nightclubs, they know the 400 and Annabelle's and all this. So we had quite a jolly time, yes. I thought, you know, people would sort of say, more serious sort of state of mind, that they say, well, you know, there's a war on. All the young people there, and the older people, because a lot of young people have been called up, a lot of older people were sort of, you know, just behaving as if there wasn't a war at all, you know.
Our father had gone overseas, had a brief campaign, and he was a prisoner of war for the next 3 years. So after the first year, we didn't see him again, or even know for sure he was still alive. He did a lot to raise morale among the prisoners, which was very low when he arrived there. He had a nice tenor voice, and he knew a lot of songs, and they built a little theatre and did variety shows in the evening. But they managed to do something in the way of celebrating, even in a prisoner of war camp. Certainly when my father was overseas, not a relaxed Christmas, because we didn't quite know what was going to happen next for him.